ships move with the tides, phytoplankton in decline.
Hello everybody.
Source stripped to shell. Juveniles fail to return. Migration stalled. Nothing left could hold.
Dana, hope you're doing well.
Food chain failed, no links remain. From base to peak, the breaks sustain. No barrier kept it in. Fukushima melts offshore.
I'm ready. Give me a moment. Call into these live shows 709 589 4406.
Primary input fell to none. Upwell collapse reduced by exchange. Impact lost as non-concern. 3 grams pulled.
All right, here we
Rest
go.
unreshed. Species counts fell to near zero.
Welcome back.
Seen across
Horrifying.
lines. Survey stopped.
We got a horrifying story.
Collapse had started. Undisclosed.
I put a link in the description. You'll find this song there. It's called From Core to Collapse. And also most recent song.
Remain. From base to peak, the breaks sustain. No barrier kept it in. Fukushima melts offshore.
Alrighty. Goodness. What a terrible story. We got an extinction event for sure. Not maybe, not perhaps. 5 years there will be no grey whales. That's a difficult fact, I'm sure, for most people to deal with. I'll show you the documentation. Any moment here now. Here we go. We're up and running. Looks good. We got 2 people on our show that we've been doing for 5 days a week for over a decade. With all migratory gray whales now emaciated for the last 2 years. They're emaciated on the trip south and again this year on the trip north. That means that they probably won't be here in 2 years. I'm using 5 years. This includes the other species. This can't just be gray whales. Unbelievably stressful news. I'm just going to jump into it here right away in a minute. West Coast whale population plunges to the lowest levels since the nuclear testing madness when they were blowing nuclear bombs off, the nuclear war. Same bombs, same radioactive fallout. I just got 3 of these to get through. Hidden NOAA, the American government's Marine Division, animation shows all ocean along the United States West Coast contaminated with cesium. Can't be just cesium. The biggest byproduct, by the way, is curium. Curium isotope needs lead shielding 20 times thicker than plutonium. Well, that's not the one. I smurfed up already. What else is new? Oh, yeah, that is the one, is it? I can't remember anymore. The German study was based on 6 years. West Coast whale population plunges. So recently we covered a story. Now this study here is showing 52% of the whales gray whales are missing / dead. and we've covered them extensively. It's emaciation. You're talking about 14,000 whales since 2016, 5 years after Fukushima, and they didn't all die by ship strikes or entanglement, as the industry has been trying to hoodwink you. And even in this story, they're claiming it's not an extinction event. How can you have all gray whales emaciated on the trip south, and now on the trip north next year they're emaciated and dying everywhere? Like, you're going from 12 inches of blubber to 1 or 2 inches of blubber. That's in 12,000. If they didn't find food in 12,000 miles, how do you really think they're going to find it going back 12,000 miles? Do you really think they're going to make 12,000 miles? They're so emaciated, the rib cages are sticking out. Their spine, you can count all the vertebrae of their spine. Let's just cover the documentation, because holy goodness gracious. Lowest levels since the nuclear weapons testing event. That was a nuclear war, right? If you look at it realistically, it's the same bombs, it's the same radioactive fallout. Just because it wasn't done in anger doesn't mean the radioactive fallout all of a sudden is benign and innocuous and harmless. We'll get through it, and they're just showing up everywhere emaciated. And emaciation, starvation. The decrease in population happened at a high numbers, as a high number of whales died in San Francisco Bay. Yeah, but they never ever went to San Francisco Bay. It's a really strange story. The next story will bring it all together for you. This was the story from yesterday. Let me double check that before I open my mute. June the 24th, a couple of days ago. Today's the 27th, 2025. The decrease in population happened as a high number of whales died in San Francisco Bay. Well, 14,000 whales didn't die in San Francisco Bay, but currently it's around over 20. And the majority of them are, of course, gray whales. And they're acknowledging, maybe tied to the impact of climate change, which is 80 years of radioactive fallout, pulsing energy at the speed of light every second. Carbon doesn't do that. Carbon is more whales, more birds, more insects, more phytoplankton, more humans, more puppies. Maybe tied to the impact, carbon doesn't pulse energy at the speed of light for millions of years. Radioactive fallout does. Maybe tied to the impact of radioactive fallout and the food supply in the Arctic. It's not just the Arctic. This is all species of whales, all species of birds. There's 46 million migratory birds missing, we're on to. They're supposed to be here laying eggs and raising their fledglings. And when they fly out of there should be 150 million birds. Because, they're going to have 2-3 babies, right? And the cliffs down here are not even stained with the excrement because they've been missing for 4 or 5 years. Not missing, they're exterminated. Millions, they came here for millions of generations to raise their fledglings. Do you really think that they went somewhere else? And wouldn't that be big news? On food supplies, they're very cautious to. What would you rather have, small modular reactors or whales and birds and bees? That's the only question you should ask yourself. There are likely fewer than 13,000, which means 52% of the whales have died since 2016. They were dying before that, post-Fukushima. Fukushima is the only thing that all the species die off have in common. It's post-Fukushima. So now they're saying there's less than 13,000 gray whales. That's 14,000 dead whales of just gray whales. My goodness. And it wasn't a high in 27,000, 2000. They were dying back then, right? So that's 14,000. I think that's 52%. The survey counted only 85 grey whale calves out of 13,000 whales. Only 85 grey whales. The smallest number since the 1990s after massive nuclear fallout for decades. I mean, they were blown nuclear. Look what, like the Castle Bravo was equal to 1,000 Nagasaki bombs going off at one time, but they only counted as one bomb. That's the wrong way. That's the wrong equation to be using. And how can I have three people on my show? Only 3 people. How is that possible? How is that even conceivable? How can I only have one like? How is that conceivable? What kind of monsters are censoring me, I wonder? What kind of stupid, idiotic... Do they really think that what they're doing has some moral high grounds? Censoring somebody like me? I'm a good person, unlike them. I'm doing everything I can for this planet and for the people and for the species. I'm completely honest 100% of the time. I'm not a bad person. The people that are censoring me are insane to censor me. I'm trying to protect them too. And their loved ones, and their friends, and their families. You cowards. What a cowardly thing to do to me. The survey counted only 85 grey whale calves. That's not fucking news. That doesn't upset you. That doesn't invoke any emotions in us. 85 babies out of 13,000 whales. No, it's all good, Dana. We got small modular reactor coming. We'll put one up each of their arses. That'll make things better. They won't need food. They can run on small modular reactors. The die-offs back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s have always been attributed to the radioactive fallout. Now they like, oh, what radioactive fallout? It's like a banana, Dana. You're just worthless humans. From 1946 to 93, 13 countries used the ocean disposal, or ocean, it wasn't just radioactive fallout, they dumped, like the French just acknowledged they dumped 200,000 barrels into the ocean. Every 33 feet, there's 14.6 pounds per square inch. The bottom and top of the barrels are crimped down. By the time it gets down to 100 feet, it's 3 atmospheres. The barrel's going to crumble. The top and bottom's coming off. What do you think is going to happen to the radioactive stuff that's in it? They're splitting atoms forever. You really think that's not going to contaminate the ocean? You really believe that? The Soviets and the Russians dumped 18,000 dumps, different dump sites, in the Arctic. You know, where the whales are depending on food. No, it's got nothing to do with it, Dana. There's got to be bananas, potato chips that are killing them. It's not just radioactive fallout from nuclear weapons. It's perpetual dumping into the ocean for 30 years to 40 years. And they knew what was going to happen. The whales are emaciated. There's two reasons. There's little food left, but they got so much bioaccumulation of radiation in them, they have leukemia. They can't uptake nutrition either. So they can find food, but they still can't uptake the nutrition. That's what I believe is going on. That's the only thing that really makes sense. But the food chain was broken. We've established that. And if you want to go into my playlist, mass species die-off, just go into my playlist, and mass species die-off of whales, birds, insects, and just click on the full playlist. And you're going to see over 30 presentations where I outline, and if you didn't take down my other site that had thousands of videos from my research expeditions, when I was out studying spiders, because the spiders are missing in the forest, because the forest is sucking up the radiation, and the radiation, of course, travels to the tips of the plants where the spiders tie onto. They can't tie on there. And I sterilized them. They disappeared. The only few spiders we found were on rocks, and the webs were all deformed. 2 viewers and 2 likes. Wow. Just nothing but contempt for you and everybody else. That's who these people are. Earlier this year, scientists in Baja, Mexico, reported seeing many dead whales in the lagoons where the whales normally give birth. Many dead whales. Well, how many? You can give us a number for everything else. How come you can't give us a number of the lagoons of all places, the shallow water? And how come I never heard of this until right now? The insects are gone. The birds are gone. The seals and sea lions are all emaciated. The whales are all emaciated. And just in 5 years, there will be no gray whales. I say in 2 years or less, there'll be no gray whales. But in 5 years, there'll definitely be no gray whales. And it's not just gray whales. Earlier this year, scientists in Mexico, in the lagoons where the whales give birth, where dead whales were everywhere. But they won't tell us any numbers? Really? And the calf count has been low since 2019. Too low for the population to bounce back anytime soon. Oh, it's not bouncing back. You got severe emaciated whales went south last year and are now unbelievably, inconceivably, even from the shoreline, are visibly, ribs are sticking out. Like if just one whale was like that pre-Fukushima, it would be just an uproar with environmentalists worldwide. Now every whale is like that and nobody's opening their pie holes. Everybody's trying to cover it up. What are you trying to cover it up for? We're just going to have fewer gray whales, and not just gray whales, in the future because the environment can't support as many, Lang, the airhead said. She does not believe they will become extinct. Why would you even say those words? They're halfway extinct now. Over 52% of the population is gone since 2016. I think most people would argue that's an extinction event right there. In 10 years, half the population. And we've covered the majority of them. It's significant, severe, heartbreaking emaciation that we're seeing. Researchers believe the decline in whales is tied to the declining amount of food. Researchers? The last people you should ever trust is somebody that from the institutions that call themselves researchers. They're the very last people you should trust, as we clearly show. You can go to my playlist I just showed you. I mean, it's very difficult to beat me in this conversation because I'm completely honest. Large numbers of gray whales died and washed ashore in the Bay Area during migration this spring, mostly within the San Francisco Bay. Really, 14,000 whales died in San Francisco Bay? They don't belong there. They've never went there before. There's desperation. They smell the sewage. That's the closest they're going to find to food out there. Between late March and mid-June, 19 whales were found dead in the Bay Area. Why are they invoking that? When you got 14,000 whales that have died. The center counted a record number of whales visiting the bay each year, which put them in harm's way of collisions with passing ships and boats. Really? You think 14,000 grey whales died of boats and ships? Really? What a despicable person to write a story like that. What a worthless human could write a story like this. One theory for why they're coming into the bay is not getting enough food in the Arctic. And they are starved. It's not just the Arctic. If they can't find food in the Arctic, they'll eat somewhere else. They're not going to go on a friggin' hunger strike. Shit for brains. There's not much to do other than try to limit global warming. They got to try to limit people like you existing, I think, is one of the first things we got to do. You're the problem. And global warming is caused by 80 years of emissions from nuclear power plants. Nuclear dumping. Nuclear radioactive fallout. I'm just furious. we got an extinction event we can't deny anymore. And you can play the blame game for a little bit longer, but it's going to come back. This is radioactive fallout of 20 days from Fukushima. This is neptunium-239 decays to plutonium, for goodness sakes, in 2.5 days. This is just one of the many studies of radioactive. The whole planet, the food chain is broken because we buried the planet. 36 reactor cores melted down at Fukushima. They successfully covered up. There was 9 reactors in each of the 4 buildings in the 2 fuel pools at the top of the 4 reactors. So 8 fuel pools was 36 reactor cores roughly melted down. And these were huge reactor cores, pure uranium, pure plutonium. Chernobyl was a tiny reactor. It was a new reactor. It was a graphite reactor. It didn't have fuel pools. Fukushima is pure uranium, pure plutonium, massive reactor cores. And there was also a plutonium mixed oxide reactor. We need to continue monitoring the emaciated whales to keep track of what's going on. And we hope to be able to in the future, the little bitch says. The eastern North Pacific gray whale population declined by 45% between 2019 and 2023. And now it's 52%. It's 14,000. Man, wow. Just holy smokes. I'm just stunned. I'm just heartbroken. I was out looking for insects yesterday, and on the bike, and I covered 200 kilometers. And I had one insect hit my windscreen, my windshield, my face mask. I felt guilty. Grey whale die off fear as starving whales migrate north. Wait till you get a load of this story. This was April the 18th, 2025, a couple of months ago. Thousands of grey whales, 13,000 to be exact, migrating north from Baja, California, where they only had 85 babies out of 13,000 whales. 85 babies. It's not even a percent. Researchers believe their poor condition, their emaciated condition, is due to changing. We don't care what they believe. That's a conjecture. That's an opinion. I can show you facts. Fukushima broke the food chain. The whales were already in poor shape / emaciated last fall when they began their 12,000-mile migration to breeding. So even before they left their migratory to head to 12,000 miles, they were emaciated. When they got there, they were still emaciated. They didn't find any food. They didn't breed. There was 85 babies. It was 13,000. Now they're headed north again for 12,000 miles, and they're severely emaciated. They're extremely emaciated. The whales we are seeing are extremely emaciated. They have bulging ribs with shoulder blades and vertebrae visible even from the shoreline. It's just really just horrific. Oh, it's nuclear fallout. The mothers are likely too unhealthy to birth and feed healthy babies. Well, they gotta have healthy babies to feed them. They're not having healthy babies. I can guarantee you that the 85 born weren't healthy. Extremely emaciated. The migratory whales, 13,000, are extremely emaciated. This is the 3rd year in a row. Do you really think they're going to be around in 5 years? I'm being generous. I'm being optimistic. I'm being stupid by suggesting we're going to be 5 years before they're extinct. They're going to be extinct in about a year or two. And it's not just grey whales. I'd pulled my hair out of my head, but I've been doing that for so long I barely got any left. And I should be out there doing research. But the industry has ostracized me from humanity, ostracized me from the internet, to the point where I got 4 people on my show that I've been doing for a decade, 5 days a week. 4 people! Fucking cowards censoring me, you cowards. You worthless, you disgusting parasites that are censoring me. You disgusting parasites. When you look in the mirror, make sure you call yourself parasites, okay? You know you're parasites, the people that are censoring me. How can you not be a parasite? Dead orca discovered on a beach in Christchurch yesterday. I was like, well, a dead whale on a beach, okay, orca in New Zealand. So right there, it was too rough for them to look at the whale and do a necropsy and autopsy. They called it death unusual. Due to challenging sea conditions, the body was unlikely to be moved before Friday morning low tide. Excuse me. And so I was trying to get a picture to see if I can see the peanut head or if I can see the ribs sticking out. Because the last orca we in Belgium we covered on our last show was a skeleton. It was alive when it washed up, but it was a skeleton. And we're talking about an apex predator that can eat every species and does. Over 300 different species, birds included. Eats whatever it wants, including other whales. They got leukemia on top of that. There's still species out there. They got so much bioaccumulation radiation in their body that they can't uptake nutrition no more. Same as the people they murdered in the hospitals with radiation therapy. That's murder. Radiation murder. Not radiation therapy. 2% survives. It's radiation murder. It's unusual for an adult orca to be found dead in the shallows like this and in good condition. Why would you put that there? Why in the goodness gracious would you put that connotation there for? Whale, dead orca in good... They even got it in the headline. In good condition. Dead orca in good condition. Have you ever seen anything like that pre-Fukushima? I've never even heard tell of anything like that. In good condition. Turns out that's not true. I kept going for more stories, and eventually the truth come out. Dead orca found in... This was the New Zealand Herald. They told you the same lie. In good condition. New Zealand Herald. The press... though, unusual dead orca found on Christchurch Beach to be buried in the sand dunes. And as soon as I seen the tail, I was like, oh shit, that's... And whenever they do this, they won't show you a clean picture of the head, because you'll see that peanut shape, right? Which is emblematic of emaciation. But you can see the rib cage sticking out, can't you? Hang on. I'll bring it in your picture for you now. Look at that. See the rib cage? Holy jeez. We got better than that coming up, though. Look at the rib cage sticking out. It's really hard to see if the head is emaciated, but you can kind of see it there. But when you look at the tail, yeah, it's emaciated. That's as clear as it gets. But you can see the rib cage in that picture there. That's emaciated. You're like, holy shit. And the tail is a dead giveaway. And you can see the sharp spine. That's another dead giveaway. The vertebrae. They acknowledge it here in this story coming up. Even from this angle, but it's so difficult. It's so difficult. You can see the tail. When you see that tail that is so thin, it's ready to crack off. When you look at the rib cage, like that picture there, you can see the ribs poked out. Can't live in denial much longer. And you can see that very distinct, sharp spine That shouldn't exist. It should be nice and smooth and round. And there, you can see the peanut head right there. We don't need that, though, because they acknowledge it coming up here in a minute. I had to find 3 different stories. The whales were upsetting, but one like this was quite common. No, it's not quite common. Or uncommon, rather, sorry. It was 6 meters long, which was large. Yeah, radiation is known to do that, by the way. Obesity rates doubled in Japan after Fukushima in the first year, which is a marker of radioactive brain damage. He believed from her condition she may have been struggling to feed for a while. I was like, wait, what? Struggling to feed for a while? Struggling to feed / emaciation. From her condition, she may have been struggling to feed. Wow. And they're social animals. They normally travel in packs. Where's the rest of them? And they're very competent in shallow water because that's where they chase the seals and sea lions. A lot of times they'll come in shallow water and grab them and yank them back out, right? But remember the first couple of stories, healthy. It was very healthy. Actually, it wasn't, was it? What disgusting parasites would do that story? Look at the rib cage. Look at the tail. You can live in denial all you want, but that's what you're doing. You're living in denial. Look at that sharp spine. It's not normal, see? She said the necropsy would hopefully reveal why it died, but because of a number of things, including illnesses and boat strikes. Really, it's emaciated, though. The animal is emaciated. There's supposed to be a little video clip there with that. Hang on a second.
It's quite...
Sorry. Let me fix that. It's a very short. I might have to play it again.
It's quite clear from her body condition that she may have been struggling to feed.
Struggling to feed? You mean emaciated, right? Let me go back to the original report. These people are crazy, eh? No, not that one. This one. On a beach. In good condition. It wasn't in good condition at all, was it? Not even a little tiny bit. Alpha, Beta, Kilo, Charlie. She said the necropsy would hope reveal why it died. It died because it was emaciated. All right? Okay? Oh, by the way, 91 gray whales reported dead in Mexican Pacific. Highest number since 2020. There were 69 births at that point. That was May the 20th, 2025. Starting in 2018, we began to see skinnier whales. Oh, you mean emaciated? You mean emaciated? I'm not going to go through the rest of the stuff. I just wanted to put this video this morning. I couldn't do a show last night. I'm too burnt out. I'm too stressed out. And my soul is tortured. It's tortured. The die-off of the insects in the nature reserves, let alone everywhere else, is catastrophic. You can only live in denial for another year or two. Then you're going to have to face the music. You can scream climate change all you want, but it doesn't add up for people anymore. Now it's just people recognize the people that are saying it are scumbags. Time to come clean, nuclear. You disgusting maggot. All the whales are emaciated, all the species. And we've covered that. We've covered that extensively. And if you go to my playlist, Mass Species Die Off, Whales, Birds, and Insects, you can see I documented it in video after video after video after video. And where you see my zodiac right there, like the red zodiac, orange zodiac, that's me that's live streaming on research expeditions where I explain to you the biggest, I'm in the middle of the biggest migratory seabird migratory route on the entire planet, come right through my garden normally. And for the last 4 years, since I've been on the East Coast doing research, they're missing. They're exterminated. They starve to death like all the other species. We documented that, and you'll find that documentation in endless, it's just ridiculous amount of work that I've done to try to bring some common sense to this equation. Well, I just wanted to put out a video because I'm losing my mind. And you can go read these stories. Like, that's a crazy story from 2 months ago. All the migratory animals were in poor shape when they began their 12,000-mile migration to breeding last year. So this is year 3, where all the migratory animals were emaciated. And we covered that for the entire time. I'm not a bad person for being honest. I'm not a bad person for putting the documentation together and presenting it in presentations to try to get this planet to be human. Because I can't find, there's just this little tiny group of us that are willing to be honest and sincere and genuine and take the moral high ground. And we're up against a overwhelming amount of scum and degenerates and monsters in the medias and public relation firms in the nuclear industry. They have bulging ribs with shoulder blades and vertebrae visible even from the shoreline. That's insane. That's an insane, just like the radioactive fallout, pretending it didn't happen. That's their solution, is it? Pretending it didn't happen. That's why the nuclear industry is so great. It's the lowest population since the 70s. The reason the 70s went low is because of all the weapons testing and all the dumping they done into the ocean. Right? You know I'm right. All the dumping they done into the ocean for years and years, for decades. It wasn't just the radioactive fallout from the nuclear war they carried on. Like, the Soviet Union's biggest nuclear weapon was equal to 3,800 Nagasaki bombs going off at one time. Do you really think that the radioactive fallout from 3,800 Nagasaki's bombs is not going to have some kind of effect? And do you really think that Fukushima is not playing a part in the breaking of the food chain and that has transpired into the emaciation of all the species? Do you really think that I would make this stuff up? You really think all the research expeditions that I done, and we'll finish it with that. Do you think all the research expeditions that I done, where I show you the food chain is broken, for 6 years, 4 to 5 months a year on the ocean, 4 to 5 months a year on the ocean, and what I found on the research expeditions and the species counts was all the species to your left are exterminated. So the migratory birds, when they're flying along the coastline, not only can't find the migratory species, they can't even find food that used to be all everywhere on the coastline anymore. Because Fukushima has broken the food chain. You can pretend I'm wrong all you want, but I can tell you something right now. I'm not naive and I'm not gullible, and I lived that life. Thousands and thousands and thousands of hours under the ocean as a commercial diver. I'm very familiar with all the species. The radioactive fallout really did happen. This was 19 days, and like the other model I showed you, was 20 days. And I can show you dozen plus models from the major governments and institutions that all tell you the same story. That we were buried in radioactive fallout. You can pretend all you want that the species didn't exist. You can pretend they didn't exist, because that's all you're doing. But I know from my research expeditions for 6 years, and that I'm still trying to carry out today, I haven't lost a fate a single time. And my hands are tied. I can't fund this operation on my own. I spend everything I got in my pension every month now for over 14 years. Do you got any idea how debilitated my whole operation is at this stage? Everything is broken. Everything is falling apart. We don't have any foundations supporting us. It's been a brutal, horrific experience trying to be a good person, trying to be an honest person, trying to do the moral and ethical thing. And I'll never stop. Anyway. What have I got? 6 likes? 5 votes? It's called censorship. And so if you manage to find this video and you manage to watch the video, do you think I deserve to be censored like this? Do you think I'm a bad person for doing what I've done? Or do you think that this industry is ugly and evil and monstrous and destructive? Because then you'd be right. You would be right. You're right. If that's what you think, you're right. And you're a good person. Because you're honest. James put out an amazing song of tritium-3H, which the world desperately needs. I'm going to share with you for a closing song. I put a link into, for this song, it's just tritium-3H. Nuclear industry doesn't even have the fortitude to call it 3H. It just calls it tritium. Have a great day. And for goodness sake, send this out to all the marine biologists, all the academics, all the foundations, all the people that strive for a better planet. They deserve to hear the truth like you did. Take care.